Amid the hustle and bustle of a busy market, a young cat, clearly neglected, catches the attention of a 5-year-old boy. The cat appears sad and unloved, and the boy pleads with his mother to help him save the cat. What happens next is truly remarkable. On a bright Saturday morning, 5-year-old Jimmy wandered through the bustling market alongside his parents when his eyes fell on a big cat tied to a post near a corner stall. His mother, Victoria, noticed Jimmy's gaze and followed it to the cat. With a sigh, she recognized her son's natural sensitivity toward animals in need. "Okay, sweetie, we can go take a look, but stay close to me," she said. As they drew nearer, Jimmy crouched a few feet from the cat. "Hi there," he whispered gently, reaching out his hand. The cat sniffed cautiously at the air, its ears twitching slightly in response. Jimmy edged a little closer. "You seem so sad." "It's okay, I'm here now." Victoria observed her son attentively. Jimmy always had an uncanny connection with animals, but this cat appeared particularly vulnerable. "Jimmy, be careful," Victoria warned. "He might be feeling scared." The little boy nodded, but his focus remained on the cat. He noticed a vendor nearby who seemed to be the owner. The man was busy attending to customers and paid little attention to the cat. Jimmy stood up and approached him. "Excuse me, sir, is this your cat?" The vendor glanced at his briefly, then nodded and said the cat was no good. Nobody wanted him, he was just taking up space. Jimmy's heart sank. "May I pet him?" he asked. The man gave a nonchalant shrug. Jimmy turned back to the cat, carefully extending his hand to stroke his fur. To his amazement, the cat didn't shy away. Instead, he leaned into his touch, his tail giving a faint wag. Jimmy smiled. He knew a connection was forming. Over the next few weeks, Jimmy and his parents visited the market regularly. Each time, he spent time with the cat she named Thor. With each visit, their bond grew stronger. Thor seemed to recognize Jimmy, his eyes lighting up whenever he saw his. His parents noticed the growing attachment and began to discuss the possibility of bringing the cat home. They knew it wouldn't be easy. Thor needed medical attention and a lot of care, but they couldn't ignore Jimmy's unwavering determination to help him. Finally, after much discussion, they approached the vendor with an offer to take Thor home. The man seemed eager to be rid of what he called the useless cat and agreed readily. Jimmy's heart soared. She gently unchained Thor and led him to their car. "You're coming home with us," he whispered softly. On the ride back, Jimmy sat close to the cat, his hand gently stroking his fur. He rested his head on his lap, a quiet gesture of trust and comfort. Jimmy had rescued a neglected cat from the market, but little did she know that Thor, as he would soon be named, was about to reveal just how remarkable their bond would become.
Bringing the cat home was just the beginning of a brand new journey for Jimmy and his family. While the initial joy of rescuing the cat filled their hearts, they soon realized the challenges that lay ahead. Thor, with his matted fur and visible ribs, had endured a tough life, and it showed in his behavior. At first, he was skittish and wary of his new surroundings. He flinched at sudden movements, loud noises, and cowered when adults tried to pet him. Jimmy spent every possible moment with him. He would sit by his side and read books or simply talk to him about his day. His tiny size seemed to put him at ease. Slowly, the cat began to show signs of trust. He leaned into his hand when he petted him and started following his around the house. But his behavior was still unpredictable, so the family decided to seek professional help. They reached out to a local animal behaviorist, Dr. Louise Taylor, who specialized in working with traumatized cats. Dr. Taylor came to their home and carefully observed Thor's actions and demeanor. "This cat has endured significant hardship," she said thoughtfully. "His erratic behavior stems from the trauma he's experienced in the past. What he needs now is a stable environment, patience, and consistent training to rebuild his sense of security." She provided them with a training plan that emphasized positive reinforcement and gradual exposure to new experiences. The training was slow and required a lot of patience. There were days when Thor showed progress and responded well to commands. He even sometimes played fetch with Jimmy. But there were also setbacks. Thor would sometimes growl or snap if he felt cornered or threatened, though he was never aggressive toward the little boy. One day, while playing in the yard, he approached Jimmy with a ball in his mouth, his tail wagging like a propeller. It was the first time he had initiated play, and Jimmy's heart soared with joy. She threw the ball, and Thor chased after it, barking happily. Victoria and John watched from the porch. The journey to rehabilitate their cat was far from over, but the family's unwavering commitment was starting to pay off. As weeks turned into months, Thor's behavior steadily improved. Jimmy's boundless patience and unconditional love started to mend the emotional scars from his past. One bright afternoon, Jimmy was playing in the yard, his laughter ringing through the air. Thor joyfully chased after a ball, his tail wagging with newfound happiness. From the porch, Victoria and John sat sipping iced tea, a sense of calm washing over them as they watched. In that moment, they couldn't help but marvel at how far their beloved cat had come. Suddenly, a loud noise shattered the peaceful afternoon. The neighbor's cat had been startled by a car backfiring. It darted across the yard and sent Thor into a frenzy. He took off after the cat, meowing wildly. Jimmy tried to stop Thor, running after him, his small legs struggling to keep up. In the chaos, he didn't notice the approaching car speeding down the street. Victoria and John's hearts leapt into their throats as they saw Jimmy chasing Thor. They shouted, but their voices were drowned out by the car's roar. That split second Thor's protective instincts took over. He perceived the danger long before Jimmy was aware of it. As the car sped dangerously close, he spun around and dashed back toward her with incredible speed. With a mighty leap he pushed him out of the vehicle's path just in time. The car screeched to a halt, the driver's face pale with shock. Victoria and John rushed to Jimmy's side. She was dazed but unharmed, clinging to Thor, who stood protectively over her. He nuzzled her gently, licking his face as if to reassure her that he was safe. From that day on, Thor's place in the family was solidified. His courageous act changed the way Victoria and John saw him. He was no longer just a rescue cat with a troubled past. He was a loyal protector and a beloved member of their family, willing to go to great lengths to keep them safe. One day during a walk, Thor suddenly froze and began to growl. Jimmy looked up and saw a man approaching. It was the same vendor from the market who had kept Thor chained and neglected. The man's eyes narrowed as he recognized the cat. "So that's where you ended up," he sneered, his tone cold and sharp. Jimmy tightened her grip on Thor's leash, feeling the tension radiating from him. She knew she had to stay composed. "Thor is my cat now," he said with quiet determination. "And you can't take him back." The man let out a scoff, his voice dripping with arrogance. "He was my cat first," he retorted. "You had no right to take him." Jimmy didn't waver, her voice steady as he met his gaze. "You didn't take care of him," he replied firmly. "He deserved better." The man took a step closer. Thor growled more fiercely, positioning himself protectively in front of Jimmy. The man threatened to involve the authorities, even accusing her of stealing his cat. Jimmy's mind raced. He knew the man had no claim, but the confrontation was unnerving. "Go ahead," he replied. "We have proof of how you treated him. You won't get him back." The man glared at her, then turned and walked away, muttering under his breath. Jimmy let out a shaky breath and knelt beside Thor. He hugged him tightly and said, "It's okay. He won't hurt you ever again." The incident shook Jimmy, but it also strengthened her resolve. He knew he had to be vigilant and protect Thor from anyone who might try to take him away. He discussed the encounter with her parents. They reassured her that they would support him and keep Thor safe. On a bright and sunny Saturday, the local community hosted a pet fair and cat show. Jimmy's family chose to take part in the event. It was an opportunity to showcase Thor's progress and enjoy a day out together. The fair was bustling with activity when they arrived. Booths lined the park offering pet supplies, treats and information about animal care. The air was filled with excited barks and laughter as cats of all shapes and sizes mingled with their owners. Jimmy was overjoyed to attend the event and was excited to see how Thor would adapt to the unfamiliar setting. As they wandered through the bustling fair, they came across a booth showcasing a tracking and agility demonstration. Jimmy's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as he took in the display. "Can we try this, Mommy?" she asked, looking up at his mother with hopeful eyes. Victoria smiled and nodded. They approached the booth and a friendly instructor greeted them. He asked if they wanted to see if their cat had any hidden talents. Jimmy nodded enthusiastically. The instructor guided them to the agility course. It was set up with tunnels, jumps and weaving poles. "Let's begin with a few simple agility drills and observe how Thor performs," he proposed. Jimmy led her cat to the starting line. Her heart pounded with excitement. He had never tried agility with Thor before, but he had a feeling that he might surprise everyone. He whispered in his ear and asked if he was ready. Thor's ears perked up and he wagged his tail eagerly. As soon as Jimmy signaled, Thor bolted forward with determination. He moved through the course with remarkable agility and grace. Thor soared effortlessly over the jumps, threaded smoothly through the poles and dashed through the tunnels with speed and accuracy that left everyone stunned. The crowd watched in awe as he completed the course faster than anyone had expected. Jimmy beamed with pride. She had always known her cat was special, but seeing him excel in the agility course was beyond her wildest dreams. The news of Thor's hidden talent spread quickly through the fair. People who had once viewed him as just a rescued cat now saw him as a star. Jimmy's family received numerous offers from trainers and agility clubs. Everyone was eager to help Thor reach his full potential. The discovery of his talent opened up new possibilities for Jimmy and his beloved cat. They began training with the local agility club. Thor's progress was astounding and he quickly became a favorite among the trainers. But the excitement surrounding Thor's newfound agility talent was soon overshadowed by a troubling development. The previous owner, emboldened by seeing Thor's success, began to escalate his threats. He started showing up at the park during their training sessions. He would shout that Thor belonged to him and that he would take him back by any means necessary. Jimmy's parents grew increasingly concerned for their son's safety and Thor's well-being. They decided it was time to take legal action to secure the cat's place in their family permanently. They contacted a lawyer who specialized in animal rights cases. During their initial consultation, the lawyer, Miss Patterson, listened carefully to their story. "You have a solid case," she said with confidence. "The key will be to collect as much evidence as you can of Thor's past mistreatment and demonstrate how well he is doing in your care." Victoria and John began collecting everything they could to support their case. They had taken detailed photographs of Thor's condition when they first rescued him, including his matted fur, protruding ribs, and sad eyes. They also gathered vet records showing his health improvements and testimonials from neighbors, friends, and trainers who had witnessed Thor's transformation. Jimmy was determined to help as well. She wrote a heartfelt letter describing her bond with Thor and the positive changes she had seen in him. "Thor is my best friend," he wrote with heartfelt sincerity. "He saved my life, and I love him deeply. Please don't let anyone take him away from me." The legal process was daunting, and the court case was looming. To add to their stress, the local agility competition was fast approaching. It was an important event where Thor could showcase his talent and further demonstrate how well he had adjusted to his new life. Despite the tension, Jimmy and Thor continued their training. Jimmy's heart pounded every time he saw the previous owner lurking nearby, but he drew strength from her love for Thor and her determination to keep him safe. On the day of the competition, the air was electric. Dozens of cats and their owners gathered, ready to compete in various events. As they waited for their turn, Jimmy noticed the previous owner standing on the sidelines, glaring at them. He took a deep breath and focused on Thor. "We can do this," he whispered gently. "Just like we practiced." When the announcer called their names, Jimmy and Thor walked onto the course with determination. The crowd grew silent, anticipation filling the air. Jimmy gave the signal, and Thor sprang into motion. Thor soared over the jumps, weaved through the poles, and raced through the tunnels with a grace that took everyone's breath away. As they crossed the finish line, the crowd erupted in applause. Jimmy beamed with pride, and Thor wagged his tail excitedly. The competition's judges were impressed. One of them, a renowned cat trainer, approached Jimmy. "You and Thor are an outstanding pair," he commented. "He's an exceptional cat, and you've done an impressive job training him." The day of the hearing finally arrived. Jimmy gripped Thor's leash tightly. The previous owner was there, scowling and muttering under his breath. Miss Patterson presented their case with confidence. She highlighted Thor's progress and the loving care he had received from Jimmy's family. The judge listened attentively, reviewing the photographs, vet records, and testimonials. Jimmy's letter was read aloud, bringing tears to the eyes of many in the courtroom. Finally, the judge turned to the previous owner. "The evidence clearly shows that Thor was neglected and abused under your care. He has thrived with his new family, and it is in his best interest to remain with them." The previous owner protested, but the judge was firm. "Your behavior has demonstrated that you are unfit to care for this cat," the judge declared. "The court rules in favor of Jimmy's family. Thor will remain with them permanently." The court ruling was a significant victory for Jimmy and his family, but the story didn't end there. Following the hearing, the judge ordered an investigation into Thor's previous owner. What emerged from this investigation shocked everyone and solidified the community's support for Jimmy and Thor. It was revealed that the man had a history of animal maltreatment. Several other animals had suffered under his care. Witnesses came forward with testimonies about his cruel behavior, and the local news picked up the story. The story spread like wildfire, triggering a surge of public outrage. The details of Thor's past mistreatment rallied the community into action. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers united around Jimmy's family, pledging to make sure Thor's former owner would never be able to mistreat another animal.